and I was like, please, I'm sorry to have this baby. I was like, please get this baby out of me. And she's like, yep, that's labor. No, you're not leaving until you have your baby. I was like, get him on the phone right now. I want it. Put it in my back. Roman was taking care of my pee bag. It feels like I need to poop. You don't have a choice. You're pushing this baby out right now. So she stuck her hand up in me. Wake up! Let me push this baby out of me, please. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Cassidy. I have a 1-year-old Eleanor and my boyfriend is Roman. It's been a while since I've sat down and talked to you guys, talked to the camera. I think the last time I did this was mine and Roman's Q&A. If my dog does not stop licking himself. Yeah, I think the last time I did this was mine and Roman's Q&A, but Ellie is sleeping right now, and I've gotten a lot of requests for my birth story with her, so that is what I'm going to try to film while she sleeps. Well, let's get started. So, I want to start from the very beginning before I even went into the hospital to have Eleanor. Roman went on a trip with his dad for Father's Day. We got them tickets to go to DC and watch a Mets versus whatever team DC is baseball game, and that game was on August 1st. So they left the day before and decided to go up there and stay the night. It was, I don't know what day it was. I was going to say a Monday just because it was the 1st, but it definitely wasn't a Monday because I had her on the 3rd, and the 3rd was a Thursday, I think. Honestly, I don't know what day it was. It doesn't matter. It was the day before the 1st. That night is when a lot of things happened. I had a neighbor who was schizophrenic, and he lived by himself, and we had lots and lots of issues with our neighbor. He had gone into people's houses. He was leaving his door just like wide open. He left his door open and ran away one time, and we ended up having to call the police because we went over there, or we came out of our house and his door was open. But the worst thing of all was when he would have his episodes. He would scream and not scream, but yell. Trigger warning, I am going to insert a clip here of him yelling. It's kind of intense, but this is the night before the 1st, the night that Roman wasn't there and I was home alone. So yeah, it was pretty intense, as you can hear. And so I was FaceTiming Roman because he was about to go to bed, and so was I. And I was taking Jailer out for a walk, and I walked outside and he saw my face, and it was just all emotion just drained. My face turned white, and he was like, what is wrong? And I walked out, and our neighbor was having an episode and yelling. So I was like, I have to go. I have to call the cops. I have to call the cops right now. So I got off the phone. I called the cops. They came out, and I ended up calling my dad, and he came over and he sat with me. But it was very traumatizing because it wasn't the first time it had happened. We'd been there for 4 months at that point, and the cops been out there probably 10 times. And the very first time it happened, we woke up to yelling, and we thought it was the people below us TV was on. And eventually we both woke up and we were like, that's not a TV. What in the world is this? And it was police outside of our house over the megaphone telling him to come out. And we looked out our windows, and they had 5 guns pointed at our house, and he was directly across from us. So this is our door, and this is his door. So from that moment on, it was very traumatizing. Every time I would hear him yell or anything, it was very scary. So a lot of stress, a lot of stuff going on. So my dad came over and stayed with me until the police got him out and everything was calm and good. And then he went home and I went to sleep. So the next day was the 1st, and Roman came home that day. He came home and I was like, I am so ready to have this baby. I was ready to have Ellie the whole pregnancy because it was a very hard pregnancy for me, and I was like, please, I'm so ready to have this baby. So I was eating spicy foods. I went for like a little jog. I did some like light jumping jacks. I was doing squats. I was eating pineapple juice, you know, everything other than castor oil, because don't do that. But everything that they say will induce you, I was doing. I was like, please get this baby out of me. I was like, I want her out so bad. My pregnancy was miserable. That night, around sometime, maybe like 9 o'clock, I started having cramps. And I was like, okay, like, whatever. These are just Braxton Hicks. They're gonna go away, blah, blah, blah. So it was maybe like an hour later, and I was like, these aren't going away. But they were pretty far apart from each other and not so intense that like I couldn't take it. But it was an ongoing tightening, loosening, tightening, loosening. So I think I like got in the bath, I ate something, I drank some water, you know, moved positions, tried to go to sleep, and all the while I was texting my friends, and I was like, guys, like, this is happening, and they're all like, oh, you're in labor, you're definitely in labor. My best friend had just had her baby, and she's like, yep, that's labor. I was just like, there's no way this is actually it. Like, this is not happening. I don't know if I got any sleep that night. I was basically timing my contractions, trying to figure out if, you know, I was gonna have her or not. The next morning, it was probably like 7. And my OBGYN opened like 8:30 or 9, I can't really remember. And so I sent them a text and I was like, hey, this has been going on since like 9 or 10 p.m. last night. They're not so bad I can't like talk through them or, you know, walk through them or whatever, but it's definitely consistent. They're definitely coming and going. Should I go to the hospital or what? And he was like, let's wait like 3 more hours. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So Roman went to work, and because I told him, I was like, let's wait 3 more hours. I was like, you go to work, get some hours in. If anything, you know, you stay at work or you just come home. So it was probably like 2.5 hours later, still coming, still going, same stuff, getting a little bit more intense. So I decided to finish packing our hospital bags because I don't do things before they need to be done. So I was packing our bags. I went ahead and told Roman, I was like, you know, like, come on, go ahead and head back from your job. We need to, I guess, go to the hospital. So I doubted myself a lot because I'd been to the hospital 2 or 3 previous times, and I was like, am I peeing on myself, or like I'm having these cramps and this and that. And basically I went to the hospital a lot because I was scared. I didn't want anything to happen to her. So I would rather, you know, be safe and me go to the hospital and it not be anything than not go to the hospital at all. So I was messaging my sister at that point and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'd rather get checked out than something be wrong or something like that, or actually be in labor, because I don't know. So I spent like, what, 12 hours at this point, maybe a little bit later, or a little bit more. So we got to the hospital, and it was 9:30, 10:30, like between that time. We arrived at the hospital on the 2nd. So I went up to labor and delivery, and they might have checked my cervix at that point, and they were like, you're not dilated, but let's go ahead and do all of, like, you know, the triage stuff and, you know, go from there. So they took like my temperature, they did the blood pressure thing or whatever it is on your finger and on my arm, and went out. The nurse and the actual delivery doctor came back in, and the doctor was like, so you have high blood pressure, so we're going to induce you. And I knew what that meant, but it was a shock. Roman was like, oh, okay, is that something we schedule? So we're going to come back and do that? And the doctor was like, no, you're not leaving until you have your baby. So we were both kind of like, shocked. We were like, wait, what? Like, when we leave this hospital, we're gonna have a baby 3 weeks early. So I was like, okay, I'm ready to have her out of me, honestly. So I'm not mad. 37 weeks. I was 37 weeks, so I was term. She was healthy. She could survive outside of the womb. They came back in and they told us how they wanted to start the induction. They wanted to start with a balloon. I know it has a word. I don't know what it's actually called. A balloon catheter. That's what it was. So basically, let's see. I tried to explain this for Roman the other day and I needed like 8 hands. But your cervix is like this. Okay, well, let's use this. Your cervix is like this. And basically what they did, they stuck they stuck a catheter through my cervix like this. And then they blew up a balloon here to sit on my cervix and open it up. So that's what they did to start. Basically, they keep that in until you're about 5 or 4 or 5, I think 4, maybe, centimeters dilated. Being dilated means your cervix is opening so that the baby can come through. So basically they put that in. It hurt like crazy, okay? It was so bad. Yeah, it was really bad. It caused cramping. I mean, yeah, not a good pain at all. So they put that in, they like tape it to your leg so it like pulls on it a little bit to give it a little bit of pressure, and they were like, there you go, leave that in. When it falls out, I don't know if I said that, it falls out at 4 to 5 centimeters dilated, so which is like active labor. They were like, we're gonna leave that in. When it falls out, we'll proceed from there. So I think it was like 3 or 4 hours later, no progress at all, like 0 progress, okay? I was still 0 centimeters closed. Maybe 1 centimeter from the catheter even being in there. They were like, all right, we're gonna start Pitocin, which is a medicine that induces contractions. So I was like, okay, you know, good, that's fine. So they left the catheter in me and started giving me Pitocin drips, and the contractions came fast. The contractions started like immediately, and they were so painful because, if you can imagine, this is bringing on the contractions, so it's causing them to happen. They came on hard and fast, and they were like, if you want an epidural, you need to tell us about 45 minutes before you want it. They have to get the anesthesiologist down here, get everything set up and prepped, blah, blah, blah. I was like, get him on the phone right now. I want it. Put it in my back. Give me the epidural. I need it now. So, yeah, definitely got the epidural immediately. It went in good. It went in easy. It hurt, but not as bad as the contractions. I was able to sit there. She put it in my back. Good to go. So, let's see. I think it was like, honestly, I don't know how long it was, but a few hours later, you know, they come in, they check me. I haven't dilated at all, trying to like move me and stuff like that. And at one point, I moved myself over. And I was laying there for a good while, and I like really started to feel the contractions again, and my epidural was great. I could still feel my body. I could kind of like shift my legs and everything, but it took like the edge off basically. So it was a pretty good epidural, but the pain started to get so much stronger, and I looked down and I felt something like wet and cold on my hand, and something was like dripping out of this little thing. So I called the nurse and I was like, hey, is this supposed to be dripping on me? And she was like, let me go get your nurse. I was like, thanks. I was like, I'm really hurting, like, because I was wanting to administer another dose of the epidural in my back, and I was like, can I just do this? But is this supposed to be dripping? Yeah. So she went and got my nurse, came back, and apparently when I had moved myself, I pulled the epidural out of itself. So it was just dripping onto the bed instead of dripping into my spinal cord. Is that where it goes? Into my spine, whatever. So she reattached that, all that good stuff, and I started feeling much, much better. So a long time goes on. I went in at like 10 a.m. and I had Ellie the next morning at like 9:30, I think, 9:30 to 9:30 to 9:40. So a few hours go by, and she comes in, and she was like tugging on the catheter, the balloon catheter, and she was like, "You're really close, like you're almost to 4, it's gonna come out soon," and it popped out while she was tugging on it. So I was officially at like 4 centimeters dilated. It took maybe, I think, 10 hours to get to that. Yeah, probably about 10 hours. So at that point, they, I think, upped my Pitocin, and basically I just had to keep progressing. My body just had to do its thing. The nurse came in to check me at one point, and we were talking, and I was like, I either just really peed on myself, which I had a catheter in, so that couldn't have happened. I was like, or my water just broke. She was like, "Oh, you probably just are feeling things, or like you peed on yourself." And I was like, "Okay, well, I need you to check, because that was intense, and I felt it. It was like in my stomach, and then it was like wet." So she looks, and she was like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Yeah, your water just broke." She was like, "Definitely." So from that moment on, I had to get my, like, the blankets and towels under me changed periodically, which was so fun. Roman was taking care of my pee bag, letting the nurses know if it was getting too full so they could go and empty my pee bag. It was great. Also, the normal catheter for my urine, didn't feel that at all. Like, nothing. Went in with a breeze. My best friend said hers hurt so bad, it burned so bad, so I was so scared, but I didn't feel mine at all. So let's see, I guess it's nighttime, definitely nighttime by this point. I'm just on the Pitocin. They're gradually upping it because, you know, I'm not really dilating at all. I think I stayed at like a 5 until the morning. So that night, you know, I didn't really take any pictures or videos in that moment, and I wish I did, but, you know, Roman was sleeping, I was sleeping, I was, you know, working on getting comfortable, and then I started shaking, and that's the result from the epidural. But I was like uncontrollably shaking, like I needed somebody to hold me down. It was so bad. And then my body started itching, and when I say itching, I mean like you just got naked and rolled around in the grass, or like poison ivy, or something that makes you itch, and you can't do anything about it, okay? Because it's not really there. It's like under your skin. So my legs were itching, and my back was itching, and my chest was itching, but my body was numb. So it's like if you ever try to scratch a numb, like, piece of your body, you don't really feel it. So it's like you're not really scratching yourself. So I had Roman come over and just like claw my skin off and scratch me for a good amount of time because I was basically dying. So let's see, nothing really happened extravagantly. Basically we slept and we talked and we spent the night in the hospital, slowly upping my drip. So at this point it's like 7. Oh yeah, it was like exactly at 7 when the shifts changed, a little bit after. So the shifts had just changed, and my favorite nurse and my favorite doctor came back in, and my nurse came in and she was like, "We gotta get you moving." She was like, "We need to kind of push this along, do something to get you dilating." I was starting to get a fever at that point, which is pretty dangerous in pregnancy. If you get a fever, you can get seizures, infection. You can get infection and other types of things. So basically they were like, let's, you know, try to move this process along. So she got me a peanut ball. I'll insert a picture here. Put it in between my legs, and I laid on my side, and she was like, lay like this for 30 minutes, and it hurt. My body hurt like that. I was in a comfortable position, and I didn't want to move. My epidural was working great. I did it anyway. I was ready to have this baby out. So I laid on my side, and she came back in 30 minutes, moved me to the other side, and she was like, "I'll be back in 30 minutes and I'll check you and see where we're at." So she came back in, and my epidural was kind of failing already at this point. I could feel a lot of my cramps, and they were coming on stronger and stronger, and I was like, I'm feeling a lot of pressure in my pelvis area. I was like, it feels like I need to poop. There is so much pressure there, something's going on down in that area. So she's like, all right, well, let me check you. She pulled, so you have to be 10 centimeters dilated to have a baby, just FYI. So she took the peanut ball out. I laid on my back. She checked me and she was like, well, you're at a 9. And she had checked me at like right at 7 around that time, and I was like not dilated at all. So she was like, yep, you're 9 centimeters dilated. Roman was sleeping and I was like, wake up! And she was like, it's okay, like it's not happening yet. He can sleep for a little bit. And I was like, no, he can't. Wake up right now. I'm about to have this baby. You need to be awake. So he woke up. I was like, I need to get in a different position. So I think at that point I got on all fours, on my hands and my knees, and Roman got behind me and was, you know, rubbing my back. I just had so much pressure at this point. So basically we were doing what we could to alleviate that pressure, and so I was like, I need to push right now. So I was like, I need to push, I need to push, I need to push, I need to push. It was like, you don't have a choice, you're pushing this baby out right now. So the other nurse came in and was like, let me see where your cervix is at, how you're dilating, and then we'll see if you can push. She was like, let me feel and see if you can start pushing. So she stuck her hand up in me, and she was like, so the baby's head is right there. She's like, I can feel her head, but your cervix is like over her head a little bit. So, I don't know. So she stuck her hand in there and basically like lined Ellie's head to like push the cervix out from in front of her head. So she was like, all right, I think we can start pushing. If you're ready to start pushing. And I was like, yes, please, like I need to push. I cannot hold it any longer. Let me push this baby out of me, please. So I got on my back. So it goes, you push, hold it for like 10 seconds, and then you push during contractions. In between contractions, you breathe. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, breathe. Push 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, breathe. Over and over. I had a student in there, so he held my leg some, Roman held my leg some, the nurses held my leg, and I didn't scream. It wasn't crazy. It was actually very calming. I think we had music on in the background. We weren't allowed to film, or else I would have, but Roman did speak his audio. He kept his audio on. So I did get to hear it. So yeah, I'm in between contractions, and I didn't really have my epidural at this point. It had failed. It was like, I don't even know if it was connected to me. I was talking in between contractions, not screaming or anything like that. I was making this really obnoxious sound that was like, and then after pushing, it'd be fine. It only took about 45 minutes for me to push her out, maybe even less. So not very many pushes, not very much time. I remember all of a sudden they were like, go get the doctor, she's coming out right now. We got to the ring of fire, which was the worst part. It's where the head is in the area coming through. That was the worst part for me, but I made through it. I had a small tiny rip. I don't even think it was a degree, and I did not rip down, I ripped up, but it healed very quickly. I really didn't feel it at all. It was planned to do a delayed cord clamping, and Roman was going to cut the cord when it was time. So I'm pushing, and then my doctor was like, stop. He was like, do not push. Don't push. He was like, this is normal, but the cord's around her neck. I need you not to push, or else it could be bad. It could be bad. So I was like, okay, not pushing. Don't worry, I'm not going to push. So he ended up cutting the cord then while she was still in me, and he had to cut the cord. Roman couldn't do it. I pushed, and that last push was also one of the hardest. And he was like, don't stop. Come on, like, you got this. And they were like, don't close your eyes now, look down, grab your baby. So I looked down and I grabbed her and I brought her up to my chest, and she was silent. So I told myself, don't freak out if she's not crying, because not all babies cry as soon as they pop out the womb. So I wasn't really scared. So I had her on me, and I was like crying and happy and sad and happy, and it was just, just the most emotions I've ever felt at one time. So then they took her and we're like, we're just gonna get her crying for you, like, don't worry. And then I was like, oh my god, is my baby okay? Is my baby okay? Is she okay? Is she okay? That's all that was running through my mind. I was so scared. And it was like, I think a minute, maybe a little longer, but it was the longest minute of my life to not hear your baby cry when they come out. I don't know why. She just needed a little waking up, I guess. But Roman was freaking out, and so when she came out, she was purple and like just, I don't know, didn't look good. So I'm so thankful that my doctors were amazing and that nothing was wrong with her and that she is healthy and smarter than any child I've ever met. I may be biased, but I swear she is so smart and I love her to pieces. Afterwards, you know, I got that after labor meal, which was the best sandwich I have ever tasted in my life. I told myself I was going to go back there just for the sandwich. And my doctor sewed up my tear, delivered the placenta. I could not pee on my own, so they had to put the catheter back in to empty my bladder, which obviously that went away as soon as I had to pee the next time. My feet were like the size of balloons. I couldn't put my oversized Crocs on my feet. What the heck? So yeah, I was very swollen. There was a lot of pain before I got my epidural, but I got my epidural pretty fast. After that, it failed a couple times. Got it put back in. There was a lot of sleeping, thank goodness. A lot of worrying, just your basic things. Nothing crazy happened. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. I feel like it wasn't that interesting, but that's what happened. That's how I gave birth. I don't know if I was ever actually in labor because they induced me because of my high blood pressure. And my whole pregnancy, I did not have preeclampsia. I did not have high blood pressure. My whole pregnancy, I was fine. So I don't know what caused it. Maybe the stress of my neighbor the previous day. I don't know. I do not know what caused me to have high blood pressure, and I don't know if I was in early stages of labor. So those are things that I don't think I will ever know. But I'm not mad the way that it happened. It was very smooth. My doctors were amazing. The facility was beautiful. I love the doctor who delivered Eleanor. He was amazing and kind. I brought my birth plan in and they were like, yep, like we do all that stuff anyway. We don't cut, we do delayed cord clamping and all of the preferred things. We waited, I think, like 2 days before giving her her bath. I can talk about all this stuff later, but she did not latch very well. But yeah, I'll save all that stuff for another video. I'm so glad I got to sit down with you guys. I keep looking over there because my camera is about to die. It's blinking right there. Yeah, sorry I've been a little absent. Lots of things have been happening. They're still happening. We're not moving into a house. We are trying to figure out where we're gonna go after this. Lots of things have been going on, so I just haven't had the time to actually sit down and film this video, but I've gotten tons of requests for it, so I wanted to get it out there for you guys. Yeah, if you enjoyed and you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon to be notified every time that I post so you don't miss my videos. I hope you guys have a great September and enjoyed this video. Let me know how your labor went in the comments below. I would love to chit chat with you guys. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. Bye guys.